Hello and welcome to yet another Grumpy's Rehab Facility video. Today I'm going to be talking about the 3.18 patch that we all waited for a long time, and I'm going to tell you all that you need to know about it. Also, I will be covering the Wave 1 PTU once the patch drops on my streams, so make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you can see when I'm streaming, so you can join the streams. But anyway, let me roll the intro and let me tell you what to expect from the 3.18 patch.
Hello, my name is Grumpy.
Now, most of you might be asking yourself why this patch got delayed so much, and I'll tell you that in a bit. But firstly, let's check out what new game mechanics and game loops are in store for us in 3.18. The first and the biggest thing will be the addition of a completely new game loop, which was announced back in 2013 and talked about in a show called Road to Salvage back in 2020. Now, this is not going to be the full salvage mechanic because 3.18 will only introduce one of the four crucial parts of it. Salvage is supposed to have hull scraping, hull munching, component salvage, and salvage refining, but with 3.18 we will be getting only the hull scraping mechanics. Yet they started working on the salvage mechanics back in 2020, and it took him like 2 years just to get this. I guess that them focusing on Squadron 42 while we're pledging for ships in Star Citizen is really paying off. Now, there are a few things that you need to know about salvaging in 3.18. Firstly, you will be able to salvage every ship that has its shields down, and that means that you will be able to salvage even your own ships. But if you try hull scraping ships that are not destroyed and are owned by another player, you will get a crime stat for that. Secondly, there will be some derelict spaceships scattered around the asteroid fields that you will be able to salvage. So if you don't want to hunt for destroyed or abandoned player ships, you will be able to find some conveniently placed derelict spaceships in the asteroid fields. With the addition of the salvage mechanics, we are getting a new ship. The VULTURE is supposed to be an entry-level ship when it comes to salvage. It is a neat little ship, and it was showcased during this year's Invictus and IAE events. On the other hand, the Reclaimer is also getting some love. The Reclaimer is the original ship that was supposed to be released with salvage mechanics back in 2018, and it is one of the best designed ships in the game, but it never got any love after it got released. The Reclaimer now has two forward-facing salvage turrets that will work with the hull scraping mechanics. Now, it had 180 SUs of storage, but it got an additional amount of 120 SUs of temporary storage on the upper salvage deck, and of course a lot more additional space inside to store whatever you want to. And by the way, they tweaked the thrusters on the Reclaimer, so now you will be able to land and take off from planets, so that's a good thing. And in the end, CAG has stated that a single unit of salvage materials, or RNC, is going to cost the same as a single unit of Contanium, or 88 AUAC to be exact. Now, if 32 SUs of Contanium from a prospector is being sold for just above 280,000 UAC, and we know that the VULTURE can hold up to 12 SUs of cargo, that only means that you will be getting up to 105,000 Alpha UAC per run with a VULTURE, or 2.6 million Alpha UAC if you manage to fill up both of the decks on the Reclaimer. So that will be the salvage deck or the additional storage that was just put in, and the original storage underneath it. But don't get overly excited, because we know that Contanium does not grow on trees, so I would assume that the same thing is to be expected with the salvageable derelict spaceships that CAG is going to put in the asteroid fields around Stanton. But there is one good thing that should help us out with salvage, and that is that most of the destroyed ships should now persist, and here's why. Speaking of persistence, we're getting Persistent Entity Streaming, or PES for short, and even though I can't really show it to you, let me tell you exactly what it is and why it is important. PES is one of the prerequisites of server meshing, and it is something that you can't really see with your own eyes. It's basically like the Matrix, you can't see it, but it's all around you. No, I can't bend this, no. Without PES, there could be no server meshing, so we can only hope that CAG did it right this time because Pcache and iCache were supposed to do the same thing. In short, the addition of the persistent entity streaming to the persistent universe means that the persistent universe will be, well, more persistent. Or in other words, everything that you left on your ship will be on your ship when you hop back onto the same server. Every item that you drop around the verse and every ship that you crash should stay there basically forever, or until the server decides that it needs to clear up the stuff that players left behind. There should be some logic behind it though, so the more valuable items and ships should stay there longer than an empty cup, for example. There is one issue though. There will be no systems in place to reconnect you to the same server you were on, and where all of your stuff is stored inside your ship. So until we get server meshing, try not to leave your ships in the middle of nowhere with a ton of stuff inside of them. Now, of course, the next big change is the cargo system refactor. Now, the cargo system refactor isn't really going to do much for the cargo haulers. Not in this patch anyways. The commodity prices will stay the same, the cargo loading and unloading will be automated like it is right now, and everything stays the same, but instead, the tier 0 of the cargo system refactor means that you will be able to interact with SU boxes on your ships, which also means that you will be able to play a game of Space Sokoban if you want to store more stuff in your ship than it's supposed to hold, but it also means that piracy is going to be a huge deal in the next patch, and in the patches after 3.18 of course. Because with the cargo being physicalized, pirates will now be able to steal everything that you have in the cargo hold of your ship. Also, you will find 1 SU crates in the shops, and once you buy them, you will be able to store your items inside of them too. Speaking of piracy and interactions with the players on the unlawful side, we have a few updates. The first and the biggest change in this patch is that if you get into a fight and you lose, the bigger ships won't just explode and kill you immediately. The ships will now go into something that the devs call the soft death state, and it will look like this. Once the ship blows up, it goes into a disengaged and almost destroyed state where it will lose all the power and all the doors inside the ships will open. The players will be booted out of their seats and you will not be able to interact with the ship itself or the beds inside of it. If you were carrying cargo, it will remain intact inside the ship and the players will be able to move it around. This is all done to incentivize ship-to-ship boarding, but if somebody wants you dead after the soft death mechanic occurs, the attacking players can destroy the ship entirely by shooting it until it is completely destroyed. But that will mean that the cargo, if you had some, will detach from the grids inside the ship and it will be thrown outside into space to float around until somebody scoops it up. But how much will you need to shoot the ship after the soft death occurs is currently unknown if you want to destroy it, of course. But if you want to be an unlawful player, you should know that there are some new and major changes to the crime stat system. In the crime stat related news, the laws are changing a bit. So unless you have a crime stat tree, you will be able to land on a station and pay your fines. But if you're unlucky or an unlawful player, there will be just one way to clear your crime stat, and that's by visiting the security station Korea on Salin. So forget about the security bunkers. From now on, you will need to fight off hordes of other players to clear your crime stat. But wait, there's more. Not only that you will have to fight the hordes of bounty hunters that want to kill you, but on Korea you will also be fighting against other unlawful players, because CAG has decided to make Korea not only the only spot to clear your crime stat, but they also added a drug dispenser to it, like the one we have on Jumptown, which will mean that a bunch of players will constantly be fighting over Korea. And if you got a crime stat tree by a mistake and you're not good at PvP, tough luck, you're going to jail.
You're going to jail. You're going to jail.
Speaking of jail, Clasher is also getting some love. There is a mission being added there which should help you with clearing your crime stat a bit faster, and the NPCs will be roaming around the mines, and those NPCs will have stuff in their inventories, so maybe you will find enough headlights on them to leave prison as fast as possible. If you want to break out, from now on, you will be able to do it solo because Berton Flats is getting a Platinum Bay, so you will be able to spawn a small ship such as a M50 to get yourself off planet. But if you don't want to end up in Clasher, you need to know this. In 3.18, CAG will be testing the properties of shields, and ballistic shield penetration will be largely increased. With this change, even the strongest shields will only scrub off a few % of incoming ballistic damage, which means that if you want to be sure that you're victorious in a fight, you will need to be rocking ballistic guns on your ships. On that topic, if you opt to go with the energy weapons, you need to know that the distortion weapons have changed too. From now on, the distortion weapons will be able to disable your ship up to 5 minutes. This is also done to incentivize ship-to-ship boarding and PvPing inside your ship. Honestly, I don't really get this change because 5 minutes is a really long time. I know that they did this to incentivize boarding, but still, like, this will be abused. And if we have soft death already, why do we need the distortion weapons to be that good? Now let's talk about the last gameplay addition, the racing tracks. There will be 6 new racing tracks around Stanton, and you will be able to race there whenever you want to, with the addition of the integrated stopwatch that you will use to measure your time. But you will also get racing missions, and they will work like any other illegal race would. You invest some money to compete, and then if your time is better than the time of the other players, you get the prize. But that is not all. There is also a PTV racetrack being added to Crusader, and it'll be a fun little thing to do whenever you're on Crusader. But I mean, whatever. You can play any other game, like Trackmania. Like, come on. Speaking of Crusader, those Siege of Orison platforms are going to get new missions on them, and they will work the same way as the bunker missions on other planets and moons do. But if that's not enough for you, Daymar is getting a new MSR and 600i crash site. It is going to be inhibited by Ninetales, just like the Reclaimer crash site on Microtech. We will also get some missions there, probably the same ones that we get on the Reclaimer crash site on Microtech, so you would either have to clear the site or retrieve some stolen cargo boxes. Now, speaking of stuff that we're gonna get on planets and moons, we're also getting some sand caves and a ton of new rivers. But since they don't have any gameplay attached to them, I don't really think that anyone cares about these. Jumptown has also grown, it has multiple entrances now, and you can also sell drugs at the scrapyards alongside to Grimhex. The last thing we need to talk about is that Star Citizen is getting the Gen 12 renderer integration, which doesn't really mean that we will be seeing any frame rate improvements right now, but what it does mean is that they will tweak the graphics engine even more in the future, and at some point we will be getting a better frame rate and a better experience. So with that said, thank you for watching, and thank you to all my patrons for supporting me, for buying new stuff for the studio, and for like doing ship giveaways and all of that. If you want to support me, there's gonna be a link down in the description of the video, and like it's a Patreon link. There's also like super chat on YouTube and like the join button and all of that. So whatever floats your boat basically. And also there is some merch that I did with my own right hand, and all the designs that you're seeing here on the screen are mine. And if you want to get something in return for supporting me, you should probably check out my merch store, because as I've said, all the designs are mine, and most of them are just funny. I really try to evade like grumpy eye logos and all of that, because like, why would you wear that? That's just stupid. So yeah, just check out my merch store, and you probably find something funny for you to wear there. I still didn't get my merch for like 2 weeks. It's on the customs, but people that got it said that it's really high quality and that it's really good. So again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to bring a towel when you're traveling through space, and mwah, bye. And also check out my streams, because I'm going to be streaming 3.18, and you know that it's going to be a really bad PTU, so I'm there to play instead of you basically. And yeah, bye. Mwah.